Whilst as a podcast, we didn't get the result we wanted at the Football Content Awards, at Deepdale we sure did. Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. Let's review the week. So, the podcast travels to Ellen Road but suffered defeat to the Poshcast. Blackburn Rovers, however, make us proud as they make the long journey to Preston and snatch all 3 points in a well-deserved victory. And finally, we have the midweek game at home to QPR, and then it's a trip to Disneyland Wrexham on Saturday, which should prove to be a nice game for us all to enjoy. But Mark, it was nice getting the points on Friday night and having a weekend to bask in the glory, wasn't it?
I didn't really know what to do with myself. It was a lovely Friday, pretty much an enjoyable Saturday, just watching the results come in, starting off at midday. Just been a lovely, relaxed weekend, really.
I know it's given us an extra day to think about that result and get some stuff together. So let's start from where we normally do, which is the initial match reaction from the game.
Well then, mate, I'll take that. I thought second half we were fantastic, tactically spot on. Yes, we should have had a penalty. Yes, it was a red card, which I want to get into on the pod, but we saw it through. And fantastic results. Pratt backed us up, which is great. It was great to see him come in and get that debut and do as well as he did. Maybe we're on to something good now. I don't know. It's frustrating that we handicap ourselves at the start of the season by having these rebuilds, but it seems like there's something there. It was interesting actually to hear Miller at the end saying that we have a good group now. I'm not too sure if he meant how it came across. But it was great that we saw that game through. I love seeing the two up top with the one in the number 10 role, but showed great character. We mixed up long throws, which was good because they were starting to frustrate us. Set pieces are looking good. I think there's a lot to break down here, but yeah, really, really happy with this one.
I'm going to be honest, Michael, I'm going to have to watch that one back. But the first half appeared, from where I was stood, to be one of the worst halves of football in terms of quality I've seen for a long time. There was madness in the game. I thought George Pratt's head was spinning around 360 each time. I don't think he could quite believe the intensity the game was played at, but for me it wasn't about quality today. It was about who wanted it more, who was playing at the better intensity, and ultimately that was us. Good Johnson, similar goal to Leicester this time with his head, but in terms of keeping his eye on the ball when everyone else is thinking there's going to be a nick, there's going to be a touch, it's not going to fall to him. But I thought there was some poor performances. I think it's papered over some cracks, but I'm not really bothered. It was a gritty performance, and you've got to win them in the Championship. Absolutely delighted, bud. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think I haven't changed much since that reaction. I've watched the game again, and that first half was pretty up and down quality-wise. But the one thing I got from the first half was the change of formation. How do you feel like when we set up?
Yeah, I thought Montgomery suffered a couple of times in the game. So when I don't like pigeonholing players, but I think you just get a feeling of them. And when I saw him play against Burnley's under 21s, and I've seen him a number of times in the 21s, I think he looks to me like a decent holding midfielder. Shuttles across the back line, covers the full-back areas, wins the ball, lays it off. When we changed our formation to having Tronstad just sitting and Montgomery was in that left position, I felt he struggled at times. He looked a bit uncomfortable. And we did that a couple of times. So we started kind of like that. Then we got to grips with it in the second half and we played with a two sitting. And when we scored, we seemed to go back to that one holding midfielder. So it's obviously a solidity thing. He prefers it. I don't know. But I thought that little change didn't necessarily help him. But as a team, I thought it gives us something in terms of Marishta, either in the 10 role or in that attacking midfielder role. And I think playing him there, that's the key.
Yeah, I felt like there was a little bit of a disconnect there at the first half. I thought going forward, we was playing to our strengths a little bit more, having Good Johnson and Ohashi in those positions. I thought Marishta, who obviously went on to get man of the match, was doing really well in that number 10 role. But I thought midfield, I completely agree with you. It looked a little bit disconnected. I couldn't put my finger on in the first half why it was so shoddy, scrappy. It was there was something just not quite right. But it was both teams. It wasn't just us.
Oh, yeah.
It just seemed both teams just couldn't get at it. And it was like the weather was really bad and the pitch was really bad, but it wasn't. It just seemed like we just neither team could switch on.
No, I think both teams set off at 100 miles an hour. I don't think it was necessarily even by design. I think whether the atmosphere got to and it wasn't Rovers Burnley atmosphere, but whether the atmosphere got to the teams a bit, Friday night under the lights on Sky, they've had an international break, they've been desperate for the game. It was lacking in quality particularly, but it was just played at an incredible pace. And when I'd said in the match reaction about George Price, because I was paying a bit more attention to him, just looking how he was settling in, and it wasn't a criticism at him. I think you could see him taking some, when you first go for a run, which I haven't done for a while, as you can see, but then you lose your breath, then you get that second wind. He was waiting for a break to get that second wind. You could just see his head. He was like, where am I supposed to be? And everyone was playing on instinct. It was the pace of the game. And I watched it. That's what I was saying. I've got to watch this back because it felt so fast. It was the same when I watched it back. It was one of the fastest games in terms of tempo I can remember. But with that came a lack of quality, partly because people were playing on instinct, partly because they're playing in the Championship, not in the Premier League. When you see games that played at that intensity, your touch is going to be better, your decision-making has got to be incredible. And it just felt a bit basketball-y. But I thought
rushed.
Yeah, if either team caught with it better, I think it was Preston, and we looked like everything was a bit last ditch. And, you were finding the defence, Pratt was going and trying to block something, and McLaughlin's drawn out to the left wing, and Hedges is having to come back, and Montgomery's over here. It was all very, wasn't a lack of effort or anything. It was just a bit hectic, let's say.
And there were some good moments for some players. I mean, Pears made a good save, and Pratt went and made a good block after that. There were some good individual moments, but it just felt very rushed. I mean, I was getting a little bit worried about Pears because he seemed to think he had more time than he did, which is quite funny because when you coach a goalkeeper, you tell them you've got more time than you think you have. Take the touch, make it. And I was thinking throughout the first half, I think someone needs to tell Pears he hasn't got as much time as he does think he has because they were pressing him and he seemed to be a little bit nonchalant, a little bit relaxed at times. And I was getting a little bit concerned. But the game did start to settle and it was, like you say, end to end. But yeah, it felt like a game where it was ready to break out. It needed a goal to let the game kind of settle, and it just wasn't coming. And obviously, a goal did come later on, but generally, until the 45th minute, it did seem just a very, very scrappy, not very good advertisement for the Championship of the kind of game that we would want to see. It was exciting. For the fact that the ball was pinging around a bit, but I don't know. It just really lacked. It really lacked quality. And then when that goal goes in, I was surprised. Because it came from a set piece, and we don't normally score those kind of goals. But I don't know. It just felt like the game was just going to peter out into a 0-0, and then we go and get that goal, and it was 30 seconds of joy, but it was a great 30 seconds.
Too many things I could say there. It was. I thought we got a little bit of control, to be fair to us, 25 minutes in. I thought if either team looked like they could take control of the game, it was us. I thought they had the better of the game for 20 minutes, but that was just in the chaos. And that's probably because they're just a bit of a brute of a team. But they looked like they were lacking in more quality than us even, and I thought we struggled. Set piece. I couldn't quite believe it had gone in even when it had. It's at the other end of the ground, and you kind of saw Miller lying down, and there's not much celebration. You think, has that actually gone in? Partly in disbelief because it was from a corner, and partly because of the sort of chaos that ensued after. But it summed the first half up, the fact that we went and conceded. something like 8 seconds in play the ball was, or whatever it was,
Mm.
from the kickoff. And you're watching it unfold and you're thinking, you're not going to get there. Don't close that down. I think it might have been Pratt that did it at the time. And he's just rush of blood. I'm going to go and get it. You're never getting there. Hedges has to come in. McLaughlin comes across and McLaughlin goes behind. Alabiosu misses the ball. The guy makes an absolute scuff of it, which helped him in some senses. Pears dives past it. McLaughlin's on the line, but he's sort of half falling onto his right foot and kicks the ball in the net. And I was just watching it and I was going down at half time and I'm just saying to my mate, I genuinely think that's the worst game of football into half in terms of quality I have seen. I could remember the quality.
It was a Sunday league first half, wasn't it? Even the goals were Sunday league. Like the first one for us was just an absolute blunderbuss. Come through, just get anything on it. Doesn't matter, put your body on the line. And then the second one was just like you say, just scuff after scuff. It was just, it was proper Sunday league.
It was, and I think we look poor, but they look worse. And I was hopeful for the second half, but I didn't expect the second half that we actually got, if I'm being honest. Obviously, we'll come to that. But yeah, at half time, my feelings were very much around, wow, there's two poor teams there. No lack of effort, no lack of plan. I just think the teams were, I think the occasion potentially got to them both. Not that it was a particularly massive occasion for us, but it's Friday, it's under lights. And I think it does have an impact when you've had 2 weeks building up to it. And we've talked about that for Rovers, that other than Johnson and Miller, the rest of them have had 2 weeks to stew on this, 2 weeks to stew on the Derby game. And it felt like that a bit, and they came out the traps. They were a bit patched together as like we were, and I think all of that combined led to a pretty poor in terms of quality first half. But it's a derby, you can kind of get on with it. Derby rivalry, we're not getting into that again, but you can kind of get over the fact that they can be a bit like that. And
I think it does mean a lot to us, though, for a few things. And just like the Derby game had its own storylines, I think this has its own storylines as well, because we have had mixed results against them. We have had games which have been a little bit heartbreaking. We talked about the one where they came to our place after an international break, after having the result that happened before that international break, and we got turned over. It is local. There are fans there that it does mean a lot to. But I think that there were storylines in this one. The fact that we'd had the Derby game and we was a little bit upset about that one. The fact that it is coming off the international break. There's been a lot been said over the international break, over social media, over a lot of people questioning things. The fact that generally there's a lot of question marks over a lot of things happening at the club. So it probably meant a little bit more. I don't want to say, I mean, I've seen over social media people saying it's their cup final, and they're like, well, you're saying it's your cup final, but look at you now. Yeah. I think taking the Preston thing aside, I just think that they wanted to react. And I think to the players, this one meant something. And you could tell with what happened going into that second half. And I don't know what was said at halftime, but you've got to give the manager credit, because things did change. Because, like I said, I was really happy in the first half with the fact that we'd started with a different formation. It looked like there was something happening. We said before, we just want to see that there's something, that they're trying to do something that is effective. And it was effective because we did have opportunities. I like the fact that we mixed up the long throws. I was getting really frustrated over the start of the season. The fact that you just put the ball in Miller's hands and just say throw it, and we weren't even beating the first man 9 times out of 10. It was really frustrating. But actually, he ran up, slowed it down, turned, and nice little throw. And we got some more out of it. So I felt like first half, there was some positives there, but it was really poor quality. But second half, I mean, what did he say to him at half time? Because it was a different team.
Yeah, there was the tweak of moving Montgomery, but and to almost going to 3-4-1-2, really. I think you're absolutely spot on with the long throws. I think we just need to mention that. There was times where Alabiosu, and I don't know if he was taking control of the situation, but the game called for the ball being kept moving, not stopping, drying the ball, throwing it in.
Yeah.
And Alabiosu, a couple of times, just picked the ball up and push Miller back, with his hands indicate, and we'll throw it to him or whatever. Just get that game moving a bit quicker, because they were on the ropes in the second half. I thought we came out playing with the same intensity of the first half, but with more purpose and more quality. I thought we had more control of the game. I don't think it was our best performance. I'm not saying we were outstanding in terms of quality. We just had a little touch more composure around us. I thought we were getting Marishta on the ball a lot more. We were playing through him. We were using Ohashi's strength of running down the wings and stretching the play in that sense. But then we're not empty in the middle, because Good Johnson occupies that space. Marishta was willing to get in there. Hedges was getting around the back on one side. But I just felt we were worried going into the game that we've been bullied by Preston before. We've looked at our team and the criticism of them all season before a ball was kicked was they're going to be too inexperienced and they're going to get bullied by an old man by teams. And I've said that a number of times. And I thought the Derby game typified. I'd said we expected our team to get bullied and out-experienced, if you like. And that's what happened against Derby. It was no surprise to me. And I thought I was just watching what was almost inevitable. That could have happened against Preston. I know they had changes, but that has happened against Preston before. Under Thomas, and I think it was that absolutely was our downfall, that they just bullied us. And I feared that going into this game. You've got George Pratt making his debut. You've got Miller, who's flown halfway around the world. You've got Pears coming back into the net. It was absolute prime for them to just stick the ball under the crossbar and bully us. And in that second half, I thought we came out and we looked like a team of men, a team that were actually saying, do you know what? You're not going to beat us. And if you do, you're going to have to play your optimum. Not so much quality, but just in terms of attitude, application, willingness to fight for every ball. And I thought nobody summed that up more than Sondre Schronstad. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He was everywhere. I've questioned his physicality before in terms of getting across the pitch. He was everywhere. He was covering for Pratt at times, covering for Miller at times. He was good on the ball. He was winning possession. The moment somebody stepped out of line from their team, he was flying into their face. Quite amusing sometimes, because he was often looking up quite a way. But I just thought he, as an experienced member of the team, it was almost like he listened to Tim Sherwood summon him up before the game. It was an extension of what you want as a manager on the pitch. I thought he was absolutely outstanding in every element of his game.
Yeah, he played like a veteran, and that's what you wanted from him. I mean, we said that once he'd lost Travis next to him, he seemed to be a little bit lost. And hopefully this is the kind of game where it's kind of his, the Americans call it the coming out party when it comes to their, it's like, it's kind of like the next level in his Blackburn career. The fact that now he's got something on his own, and maybe he's thought, well, I can be the leader of this too. You know, I've got Montgomery next to me. I need to grab him by the scruff of the neck. I need to make sure. And obviously later on when Baraji comes on and gets the tackle, which we'll get into, he's straight in the face of the Preston player. Going back to something you said, it is quite interesting coming away with a 2-1 win here when you've got Pears in goal that's lost his spot. You know, there's question marks over his ability and his form. And then you look at the back three, which is all brand new players. There's only one there that's got any kind of experience, and that's McLaughlin. You know, Miller being a right back, and then slotting into that centre back role. Pratt, obviously, we've spoken about him, and then having Ali Biasu on that right hand side that he's new, who again had a great game. Hedges on the left, who again had a great game. Then you've got Montgomery, who's effectively new to the team. He had obviously a few starts last year, but generally he's new. It's quite interesting that they played as well as they did. And I've got to give credit to the manager, because whatever he said at halftime, however he set them up on the day, just generally the leading up to the game, we just had Preston's number. And I think Preston played pretty poor, but they had the same opportunities to play well in that game as we did. You know, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger in some areas. Ability-wise, in some areas, they're better than us. And we turned up in that second half and showed some great character. We saw it through. And what I loved, the fact was, it's the striker, Good Johnson, not Ida Good Johnson, that obviously Sky Sports put out there, which was quite funny. it was great that he goes and gets that winner, because that's going to build his confidence as well. But it's the fact it came from Marishta. There's been question marks over him, and he goes and gets man of the match. Talk to me about that goal and how it felt when that went in.
Well, in the away end, it was pandemonium. It was only word for it, but it was. I've watched that back a number of times. I've seen many angles, and I've listened to the interviews around it. We've just got a set piece coach. Good Johnson talked about how there was a block. That if you watch, he is with their number 9. I can't remember who that was, who'd come off the bench. Good Johnson was occupying him. Miller swaps with him and goes right across the eye line of the number 9, who's obviously not naturally a defender, but he's back there because he's 6'43". And Good Johnson takes the opportunity to go right around the back of him on his blind side. And it was a similar goal to the Leicester goal. Obviously, that was with his feet before anyone says anything. But in the sense of when the ball's travelling such a distance and travelling over people, and you think somebody's going to get a nick, you think somebody's going to touch it, this could happen, that could happen. Quite often what you see is somebody in that position react at the last minute. They think they can see the ball, but it might get a touch, and they wait until it's cleared everybody, and then they react. Good Johnson, just as he did against Leicester, anticipated the ball not getting a touch, and I'll react if it does. And it didn't get a touch, and it fell right onto his head, and it looked easy, and it wasn't. To watch that ball that distance, to make sure you keep your eyes on it, you focus on it, that it doesn't get a nick. The fact that positionally he ran right off the blind side of the number 9, so he was free. And actually, then the calmness to head it when a goalkeeper's a yard away from him and find a spot. The keeper spreads himself like Schmeichel to find the spot beneath, I think it was his armpit and his knee, was a bloody good header. It was a weird celebration from the players, though. They were almost quite calm about it until Tronstad.
It was like it was inevitable, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they were celebrating like, this is inevitable. Of course we're going to get this second goal.
Yeah. But just the whole combination of the goal, the set piece in the first half, the way that they have rode the storm in the first 20 minutes and then gone and got the goal, then had a massive setback just before half-time, have come out and gone, no, we're going to make a tweak. We're going to imprint ourselves on this game. We're going to put our front foot forward. They're not just going to take this. This is not just happening. I felt like we became a team of men. Felt like it was a case of, just like Tronstad did, like you said, he stepped up a level. I think there was a few people there that turned up and thought, no, actually, we are going to stand up to this. This is not just going to keep happening. It's not going to be inevitable now that we go on to concede again. And we're going to come out and we're going to take this game to you and we're going to win it. And there were some big performances without it being the best quality. I think mentally, I saw some things that I've worried this team wouldn't have for one reason or another, certainly this season. And I think it was a massive result. I think that the fact that it was, like you said, Marishta was the assist. There were set pieces. We had adversity in terms of the team selection. We've conceded just before half-time. You're away at Preston. They've got a full house. It's under the lights. It's on a Friday. Miller's flown halfway around the world. Carter's just got injured. They could have felt sorry for themselves. They could have got bullied. They could have got overrun. And they didn't. I felt like we won that on mentality. And that's from the manager. That's from the players. And I think that's a massive moment for us because we've questioned that when we lost to Birmingham. We've questioned it before the season. When I say we, I mean the supporters. And I just think that in the Championship, if you've got consistency of mentality, it's as important as anything. You get the odd team that comes with a shed load of quality and runs away with the league. But quite often it's the team that's consistent and is mentally strong and can go again because you're not going to be 100% fit in the Championship probably ever. You know, we've got 3 games in 6 days. Mentality is everything in those games. And I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to get ahead of myself too much, but the one thing I was thinking after the game was we had such a long period in our recent history at the club of doing the Rovers thing, which was we'd just lose a game, or it just wouldn't go our way. It'd be 1-1, we'd be battering someone, and you just know the Rovers' way was going to concede and lose 2-1. And then we had a period last season, and probably maybe the season before that, where actually we started to think, well, actually, maybe that's gone, and we are mentally stronger now, and we are seeing games through. And then we kind of went a little bit back towards the old way. Maybe now they're building something. And it's funny because at halftime I started making some notes, as I do. And one of the things I was thinking, because I started to think about that 30-second period where we was leading, then obviously you go in 1-1 and you think, oh, okay, mentally that's going to be tough for the lads. They've gone and got a goal. And then to go in half-time, Preston Towers are going to be up. We're going to be feeling really negative. And I started to think about something I'd heard about. How often do you think a club hits its potential in games across a season? It's going to be a very low percentage. You can't expect every single team to play its potential every single game. And as fans, we need to appreciate that. We need to appreciate the fact that not every game is going to go your way. Not every game the players are going to be playing 9 or 9 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s. They're going to be the 5s and 6s sometimes. And we can't expect too much. But we go out in the second half and I'm like, oh, and we started quite strong. We get the goal. And to be honest, we could have got more. And I started to think completely differently. And then I started actually deleting the notes thinking, I don't want that negative thing myself. I want to make sure that I'm positive and I'm starting to think positive. They say if you think positive, it manifests itself. But I saw some courage in the players. I saw some determination. I saw some good play. I saw some getting your fingers in the dirt and really getting the result that we needed. And it was really good to see. Are you having trouble there, Mark? I don't know who's watching on YouTube, but Mark seems to be rearranging his studio right now while I'm talking.
No,
You okay?
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, we've gone back, as we talked about Rovers of old, we've gone back to podcast of old. We've gone to Mark having technical issues again.
I know. What is going on here? We'll fix it. It's all right.
You carry on. You carry on. So anyway, we go 2-1 up, and I started to feel very positive again. And I was thinking maybe we are onto something good. And I spoke about the fact that we handicapped ourselves at the start of the season having this rebuild. But we started to then see some subs made. Gay comes on, and to be honest, he looked okay. He was putting himself about. He made a fantastic touch as the ball goes long, and then was kind of eye gouged. Okay, maybe not eye gouged, but we could have potentially had a penalty there. I personally think it should have been given. And we just looked like we was going from strength to strength, and Preston were just kind of slowing down a little bit, and it was really nice to see.
Yeah. I don't know what my sound's like right now, but I'll give it a whirl.
I think you're on the wrong mic. I think you're on your other mic here. Oh, yeah, Mark having technical issues. I didn't think we'd have that on the bingo card anymore.
Mate, I've done what I can, but the mic's not working. Can you hear me okay though, Mike?
We can hear you. Let's carry on.
It's a shame. Sorry. But yeah, no, I just think mentality is massive, and it's the one thing that you can't just buy. I think we've been a bit Spursy over the last few years. When the weather's been nice and everything's been going our way, we've been okay. We go right back to the Mowbray years, and we fell off a cliff that year when we were second in the league. It's always felt like Rovers. It's been a joke amongst Preston fans. Oh, you won the league in September, and then what happened? It's always felt like we've never quite had enough mentally. Eustace, I felt, changed that a bit. We turned into a team that could be dog-eared and grind out results, and that's gone away from us a little bit. And this was different. It wasn't a Eustace performance, but it was a performance that I was really proud of in a very different way.
Yeah, I was really proud of it, and there was a couple more things happened. So before we finish with the Preston game, the other things that happened, obviously, I'll get into Baraji and Henriksen in a second. But the tackle from Whiteman on Baraji. So I've seen a lot of on X about it. Obviously, it didn't matter in the end. Baraji's fine, and we ended up getting the result. It does show the quality of the EFL that this happened. Now, I don't think Whiteman meant to get him as high as what he did. You can tell he's kind of gone in reckless, and he's bounced off the floor. His foot's come back up and bounced into like mid between the knee and the ankle. It's a leg breaker. It was reckless, and that's what's caused the issue. The fact that he has just chucked himself in there, and whilst I don't think he meant to go in that high, he obviously meant to get him, and he obviously meant to try and take him out. So it should have been a red. But I felt like Baraji came on and he looked, it's one of the most relaxed debuts I think I've seen from someone. He looked so relaxed, so nonchalant. I actually thought he does realise this is his debut and people are watching him. He looked really calm.
Absolutely bizarre. The only way I can describe it, Mike, is when you've got a mate who's pretty decent at football or used to be, and then they come down to, we have the soccer dome in Blackburn, or they come down to the 7-a-side pitch, and you think, oh, come on, mate, put a bit more effort in. He was playing 5-yard balls that didn't quite have enough on it, but yet you could see he had some quality. It just looked like it was bloody weird from him.
I like the mentality. I think that kind of calmness on your debut shows that you're going to be able to cope with some pressures. I do like it. There was some quality there that you could tell with some of his movements, some of his passing, some of his vision. His execution wasn't quite there, but I'm not going to judge him over the 5-10 minutes of football. But yeah, it was an interesting watch, and obviously it was interesting for Henriksen. But yeah, it was interesting after Henriksen's interview that he got dropped. So I think we'll get into that interview shortly. What was your thoughts with the end of the game, that last 5 minutes? I felt like we had it in the bag.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling. Yeah, felt like we had it in the bag. In the way end, I wasn't concerned. I was looking at Baraji more than anything and thinking, is he a player? Is he just too nonchalant? I was watching Gay and couldn't quite get my head around that first touch he had. I don't know who was more surprised, the Rovers fans or Gay, when he's controlled that ball. It looked like one of them that people do, when you leather the ball in the air and then somebody controls it and it's stuck to their foot and they're looking around thinking, where's the ball? I know he got a hand in the face. It probably was a penalty, but he was never going to score. But yeah, I did think nothing was happening. For me, the game was done. It was it was in the bag. My worry was probably the history of Deepdale, and there was a point where we got in a very similar position to the Ryan Hedges one a few years ago, and we did a very similar thing, and I thought, please don't let that bite us on the backside again. But it didn't, and 3 points to start this run of games is a cracking start.
Yeah, I was really happy. Before we leave this game, I just want your thoughts on what Miller said in the interview after, where he said we have a good group now. Now, that now bit at the end, I think he's telling. Am I reading too much into it?
Yeah, I mean, he said he doesn't remember scoring the goal because he got such a bang on the head. That worries me a bit because that sounds like concussion, and we could do with that.
You've put yourself on mute, Mark.
Oh,
Mark's having technical issues left, right, and centre today.
We're having a shocker today. So he'd flown halfway around the world. He had been in America, been in a different time zone. He played at 1 a.m. I think it was our time Wednesday morning. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think what he was trying to say was kind of what we just said, that the mentality of the group came through and they stood up to the challenge. And I agree with him. I think it wasn't so much a now compared to previously. For me, it was more of a now we've got a good mentality. We've made a difference.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was one of those games where I think you can just look at every player and say they offered something. So Marishta gets man of the match. I think Hedges had a really good game as well. Is there anyone in particular that you would put in that upper echelon of performance for the team, or do you think it was just a team performance?
Tronstad for me. Tronstad came out of that absolutely flying. I thought he was as good as I've seen him. Yeah, it was Tronstad that was head and shoulders above probably anyone on the pitch for me.
Yeah, I was just looking around the team. I was just really happy with everyone's performances. I thought Pratt had a really solid debut. He was someone that we spoke about last week that we wanted to see him play. I wasn't really necessarily expecting him to play a full 90 minutes, but I thought he was really solid. I thought Pears ended up making some good saves and kept us in the game at certain times. I just thought it was a really good team performance. There was no one I looked at and thought was necessarily edgy. Even the people that came on, I thought Gay did offer something. He's not the player that we want, but he came on and did something. I thought Baraji showed some glimpses of what he can potentially do. And Henriksen came on and did a job. Before we leave the Preston game with Henriksen with that interview, do you think he only played a few minutes at the end because of the interview, or do you think it was just by design?
No, I think if you were getting too hung up on that, I don't think he'd be involved in the whole game. Yeah. And we've seen this before, wasn't it? There was an interview, I can't think it was, not too far, Tronstad, and he was talking about the contract things. And it turned out the interview was a lot earlier than what people thought, that actually the translation was not right. And he came out and said a lot of it wasn't right. Now, I know that seems to be the go-to when somebody does an interview with a foreign magazine or whatever, that all of a sudden the translation isn't right. I don't know if anyone's tried to translate Norwegian on Google Translate. It doesn't seem to want to do it, so that's an issue. Whereas Henriksen's, I presume, speaks Swedish, so it's probably a bit easier to translate. I don't know. It's not for me. So I think interviews are difficult as well. People were having a pop at Ismaël for the interview that he did around Carter. When you listened to it rather than read it, I felt you got more of the context. And I think you need context, and context is everything. If you just write words down that people say, doesn't always reflect that. Somebody could say something tongue in cheek. It's literally translated. It doesn't mean the same. Not saying that's what's happened, but I'm not too fussed by it. And I think if they were that concerned, he wouldn't have been anywhere near the pitch.
No, I agree. And it's very much like the Trump BBC situation. You can grab little things out of things, like you say, out of context, and it makes things seem very different. Any 3 words reactions that were particularly funny?
3 points baked in. I'm going to let Duncan Martin have that because he's put the 3 in the PTS for the points. So he's having it. Not having anyone disagreeing. It's my 3-word reviews. They can sod off. Jack Blues, 1875. Spud up. Oh, I can't say that one. Adam Saw, blood from a spot. Oh, all right, here we go. I do this all the time because I correct their grammar. Blood from stone. We're having it. I think that's fair enough.
We'll have it.
But one final one that I can't let go. Chaddy Rovers, it's Miller time.
It certainly was. And now we go on to 2 games. We've got QPR at home on Wednesday, and we've got Wrexham away on Saturday. What do you want to see happen over the next couple of games?
What do I want to see happen? 2 4-0 wins.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you want to see from a team point of view? Do you want to see the similar kind of setup? Do you want to see some rotation, or do we stick with what we've got?
I want to see that mentality carried on, because I think when it's a performance, so the performance that we saw at Hull, we said you get those twice, 3 times a season. They're not always going to continue. You hope glimpses of it will. You hope elements of it will. But the mentality is something you can see again. And I saw a determination in it and an inner drive, and I need to see that again. The gap between Friday night's game, only up the road, albeit it's an away game, it was only up the road. So Wednesday's game is the longest we've got in the 7-game period. Wrexham's then only an hour away, so I think we can excuse the travelling elements. I want to see, I'll be honest, I want to see a real front foot performance against QPR. They're having a bit of a tough time. They've dipped a bit. I predicted they'd be down near the bottom reaches of the league, and I still think that's going to be the case. They're kind of proving me a bit more right at the minute. I want to see us dominate the game. And I don't mean in sort of a 70% possession, 4-0 win. I mean, I'd love to see that. But I want to, a bit like we did in the second half at Preston, I want us to see, do you know what? This is our patch. And we've been missing that all season. This is our patch. And if you're going to come here and beat us, you're going to bloody deserve it. I want us to go. I'll be happy with a 1-0 win. I want to see us really put our stamp on the game and make them feel like, you know, a cold Wednesday night in Blackburn is not something they really fancy. And then I want to see us go to Wrexham and have the similar attitude that, listen, boys, you might think, you know, you're all Billy Big Boys on Netflix, but if you're going to come and beat us, you're going to have to put a bloody shift in. And one thing you can guarantee against Wrexham under Phil Parkinson, it's going to be hard work. You're going to win that by graft. You might have a bit of more quality than them at some points. I don't think we necessarily do. But you'll not outfight them. You'll not outrun them. And we've got to match that first and foremost. So I want to see attitude, determination, and just those real gritty elements that we've been missing so far.
Yeah, and I've started to trust the manager a little bit more. I've seen some things. I'm taking the Derby game and putting it to one side because I felt like there's a few things in that Derby game that's kind of beyond control. But I think there's now been a decent run of form that we can look at and say, okay, well, maybe the lads are a bit more confident. I think the fact that we've had an extra day to prepare, the fact that QPR have to come to us, you're hoping that it's coming into our hands a little bit more. I think form-wise at home obviously hasn't been the best, so it's going to be a game that I really want us to get at them. I want us to get at them. I want to get something out of that. And the Wrexham one, if we get something out of the QPR game and we win that, if we go to Wrexham and we just get a draw, I'll be really, really happy. Because it shows that we're heading in the right direction. I think what's going to be interesting is Cantwell's potentially coming back, I believe, and it's where he's going to slot in, so we need to talk about that. But I'm starting to have that, the circle we put out of, you have faith, then Rovers do something stupid, you lose faith, and you get faith again, Rovers do something stupid. I'm in the have faith section at the moment. And I'm starting to look forward to games again.
I'm really looking forward to this week. I mean, I can't go to the game on Wednesday. My season ticket will be unused just because I've got my daughter. But I'll be watching live on Sky. And then on Saturday, I'm going. And that's not the reasons. I'm just looking forward to it. You like to know what to expect from your team. And what I saw at Preston, I really liked. And I think when you look back at the period of time, we've said we look at games in chunks. I've said up for a long time, I think you judgment of a manager is in different areas, but one big way is after a period of time on the training ground, do you get better or worse? You might not win the game, but do you get better or worse? Have you seen them at least look to address things that have been going wrong? Have you seen them look like they've got a plan to address them? Doesn't always work. We get that. I thought we came into the last run after the international break with obviously just a new formation, but we weren't creating anything. We found a way to create chances, and we found a way to get more out of the squad. We've had a 2-week break here. Yes, we're going to beat Preston, but even if it was a draw, I've just seen something about this team that I liked. I think they've come together this break. I think they've probably had a bit of a team meeting, but they looked really united and a real one moving forward. It was a real team. And if that's a sign of things to come, because they're going to need that togetherness over this horrific run of games, I think we'll get more points than we'll lose.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. We've still got that game in hand, and let's assume. Let's talk about the fact that we could win that one. That takes us up to 22 points, which is joint 14th with Wrexham. And suddenly you're talking about, well, actually a good run of form and we're pushing up the league again. So I am ready to have faith again and trust the manager. I think Cantwell coming back is going to really test him now, because he's got something going. He seems to be quite happy with what he's got. Where does Cantwell fit into this team now? Because he's the captain. He's got to play.
I think he should play. I think if he's fit and he's ready and you can rely on him physically, he has to play. I think he's got the most quality out of the team. He doesn't get his straight back into the team on Saturday's performance, but he plays where Marishta plays, and they've to fight it out. I don't think you could play him and Tronstad Montgomery would have to play for me in that midst. Gordon Hickman might come back in. I think you need a couple of, as Tony Mowbray used to call them, a couple of soldiers alongside as one artist. Although Campbell works harder, just the other option is if you go into an away game like Wrexham, you could play him instead of Ohashi. That will be a chance, and I think you potentially have more creativity, but you would lose elements that Ohashi brings, the press that he brings, the running the channels. So I think of the performance against Preston, it would be Marishta that would lose his place on paper in terms of the lineup, but the performance from Marishta in the second half means he shouldn't lose his place. So even if Cantwell was trained all week, for me, he doesn't do that. I think the league table, you've mentioned something there that it feels like we're just stuck. No matter how you look at the Championship, it's usually so congested. You win a couple of games. We've won 4 out of 5 games, and it feels like we've been 18th forever. But the table is congesting. We are a game in hand, but we are 6 points off top 6. So obviously we'll beat Ipswich. So that means we're 3. We need to sort of goal difference out a little bit. But our away form is something we have to talk about. We've got the second best away form in the league. It's unbelievable. I mean, that tells you how bad our home form is. But it sounds simplistic. But if you sort that out, yeah, we will be challenging. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't see us challenging for the playoffs. But what have we said all season is we need to see a spine of the team, a way that move forward, and a base that we can build on going into next season, and stay clear of relegation. And I think the attitude I saw the other night, with all the absentees, tells me that should happen now. We should steer clear of relegation. But I'm just going to finish on the QPR game. I think we'll beat QPR. I think it'll be 1-0. I don't think there'll be many goals in the game. I think we will beat them. They have got a good mentality though, so we're going to have to keep that mentality. At weekend I've just had a look at their result to remind myself, and they went 1-0 down, 2-1 down, and they won 3-2. So that's not a team who's going to be a team of pushovers. So we're going to have to be equally as resilient as we were against Preston. But I think we've got it in our locker. Then we go to Wrexham. Like I've said, they will try and run all over you. They'll try and out-battle you, out-fight you. They've got a bit of quality. They've got a centre-half who's played 58 games consecutively, I think, in the Championship. also dream of having that centre half. But we've got a cracking away for him, and we should take some real confidence from that.
I agree. Going back to the Cantwell thing, I think what's going to be interesting is the formation that he sticks with Cantwell, because obviously he's changed the formation a little bit. My instinct when Johnson came in, I felt like him and Cantwell could strike up a partnership, but not quite as a two up front. It was more of a Cantwell in that number 10. But when Marishta has been bought, he's going to have to play, because when you've spent money on players, you're going to be playing them. So that means Marishta's probably going to be playing. Johnson's definitely going to be playing. So it could be that Ohashi makes way, but Ohashi's been one of our most solid players. So he's going to. I think for me now, I'm looking, is there potentially the two in the hole? So you have kind of Cantwell next to Marishta, and they kind of feed Good Johnson and kind of mix up and rotate who pushes forward, who kind of stays back. But I did have a gut feeling that you could have Cantwell next to Tronstad and let Tronstad do some of the dirty work, which we know he can do, and let Cantwell kind of be that midfield playmaker. It's going to be really interesting. I'm not ready to make a decision just yet on that. I think we've got to see some games, but I think this is where Ismaël now needs to make sure his best players are on the pitch, and ultimately Cantwell is one of his best players, if not arguably the best player. So he needs to try and find a way of putting him in. Carter, we're going to be without for quite a while still. It's such a shame. Whatever's going on with Carter, I hope he gets it sorted out, because he could be an absolute gem of a player for us. And it's a shame that he's again going to be on the sideline for a bit longer.
Absolutely gutted for him to get another injury, another muscular injury, another non-competitive match injury. I think he said he's played 4 games or been available for 4 games since Ismaël joined. It's getting to the point where we love Hayden Carter. He's probably our best centre-half, but he's not been our best centre-half on Friday. He's not been our best centre-half the week before. He's got to get to the bottom of this. I know they said they've checked out his mattresses, how far his back is from being in centre line, is one leg longer than the other, his feet flatter than they should be. They've looked into absolutely everything, and they found a couple of things, and they thought they'd sorted it. They didn't bring him on in the last game before the international break. They let him have those 2 weeks to hopefully get him right for a run of games. And we were talking last week about, do you know what, I'd probably just consider him for Saturday to Saturday games, maybe miss the midweek game, maybe miss the long travelling, because that's notorious for doing calves, hamstrings. But I've looked back at his injuries, and they predominantly have been back, hamstring, calf. That's something linked. They've got to get to the bottom of it. Notoriously, hamstring injuries recur. He doesn't seem to have had a terrible one like Owen Beck, for example, who's just played in the 21s against us, has torn his hamstring again, they've said, from the bone. They're major injuries. They're potentially career impacting ones. Carter doesn't seem to have had one to that degree, but he's having ones that keep him out for 2-3 months. And I'll be honest, I'm worried about his career, because he's 25 now. He's somebody who this season we talked about needing a big season fitness-wise, but really establishing himself as a leader now, as a starting player. And actually, I think he's fighting for his career right now.
He needs to start doing Pilates or yoga or something, because there's something not... There are genetics involved, and some people have more issues than others. I hope he gets the help he needs, because we need him. And, we've got Wharton back on the sidelines as well. We've obviously put our eggs in one basket of trying to keep these players, fit. But we said at the start it was going to be a struggle. I mean, I said Wharton was going to play more games than Carter this year. Well, to be honest, right now, I'm not even sure where that's going to go. But it's an absolute shame.
Yeah, I think the other injury was, sorry, just to finish up, the other injury news was obviously Tronstad left Deepdale in a boot. Now, it's not uncommon for players to do that when they get a knock. He looked uncomfortable towards the end of the game. If you get any sort of ankle knock where it's potential ligaments that you've tweaked, it's quite common that footballers, they then put the protective boot just to lock it in position. But it's a concern because we've got a very limited squad, and I'm not claiming to be a sports science expert, but what I do know is the difference in a gap of games between 2 days between to 3 is massive. So obviously we've had the gap from Friday to Wednesday this week, but what players predominantly do is they do a day of recovery rest, a day of training, a day of prep, then the game. But their performance levels get up to about 90 to 100% generally for most players recovery by that third day. We have not got that luxury. So by that, I mean, when you play on a Saturday to a Wednesday, by the Wednesday, you should be back to, most players will be nearly 100% in terms of recovery. The day before, when you play Saturday, Tuesday, you're only at about 70. So then you're looking at players risking injuries, rotation. We've had that big gap to Wednesday, but then we've got 2 days between Wednesday to Saturday, the 2-day break, and then exactly the same onto the, we've got Sunday, Monday off before we go again on the Tuesday against Ipswich. And that is something that's going to be a concern. He's got to look at these 3 games as a whole and say, right, actually, who can cope with this level and who can't? And I worry about our depth, I really do, but I think that's where mentality comes in. I know sports science plays a massive part, but there's also a little bit of just pushing through that barrier, pushing through. If sports scientists had heart monitors on everyone who were doing the marathon, they'd be pulling half of them out, if not all of them. I think there's something to be said. I have to watch a lot of boxing. I do watch a lot of boxing training camps and things like that. Part of pushing through when you think you can do no more, when you think you got no more, is a mentality thing, knowing that, yeah, I'm absolutely knackered, but there's a bit more I can push through yet. That's part of what grows your character. And I think we've lost that a little bit, but we're going to need that character and more as we move through this run of 3 games. But there's 6 in, is it 15 days now? I think we've got something like that. It's a horrific run of games, but it's going to test them.
I'm just adding it to the list of things that we've got right since we started doing this, the sports science, the lack of depth. The list is growing longer of things that we called out a while ago that seems to be coming true. So, yeah, I just hope that I hope that we can keep it all stitched together until January. We're being linked to players. Apparently, we've got a little bit of budget to spend. It's going to be interesting. I think that I don't want us to miss another opportunity if there's one there. So say we have a good run of form between now and January. I don't want us to miss out on another opportunity of pushing on. I think there's a lot of courage in the club on the pitch at the moment, and I think that needs to be backed up with the owners and the people holding the purse strings. Because if we do have an opportunity to push on and actually have a run at playoffs, they've got to take it. And once again, we're pulling rabbits out of hats of having defenders stitched in and putting square pegs in round holes, and we're getting results. And yes, we are. I'm not going to get ahead of myself like Tim Sherwood was doing with what he was saying, but there's nothing to say that if results go our way and we can keep some good form going between now and January, that we're not pushing. And if we are, I want to see someone backing us up. And if that's the powers that be opening the coffers and getting us a couple of defenders in, then brilliant.
We have to get a centre half early in that January window just to release.
Oh yeah,
Alabiosu might be going to play for Nigeria and he'll be sodding off to the African Cup of Nations for a month. And Nigeria are a decent team. They'll probably get deep into that tournament. But I think before all of that, for me, comes contracts. That's where our intention come. Ballard Talks contract runs out in 18 months. Well, they've told us that if someone gets into the last year, they're going to sell them. Right now, we've got Pears, Tote, Now, I'm not sure how many of these you'd keep, but anyway, Carter, Pickering, McLaughlin, Ribeiro, Jake Garrett, just go through the rest. Tronstad's obviously up this summer. Cantwell's 2027, Matt Gaze, Card Bowies, and Ohashi. So if they want to keep any of them players, surely they won't let them get into that last 12 months and they will have had them renewed before January. Rudy Gestead might be looking at targets, but his main job right now should be identifying those players that they want to keep beyond that. Now, they might not want to keep Ohashi. He's 29 now. I understand all of that element, but you're not telling me you don't want to keep Ballett's Tort and a few of the others. And if you do, get them renewed now. I'd even look at people like Andre Johnson and saying, do you know what? You've shown us something. As he gets to the end of the season, we're going to give you another year already. And I know he's got an option in it, but just reward these players. Get their contracts in your favour. Put you in the driving seat.
Well, this is what I don't get. Surely he can multitask. It's not like we're asking him to do one thing at a time. You know, if Rudy's got designs to actually go and buy players, I'm sure he's not physically going himself to do all of this. And even if he is, he's got downtime elsewhere to actually sort this other stuff out. But
Well,
I mean, is that lack of experience from his front? Is it arrogance? I don't know.
I mean, he's been in the position now for enough time to know that he's doing. I mean, I think he claimed in the interview in the summer that it was the position I inherited. That's what had happened. But he'd been there last year. Just because Steve Waggett was in charge, he was still doing the director of football or whatever role it was called. But it's the same thing. Maybe he didn't have the authority to press the button, but he had people that were like Tronstad that were 2 years out on a deal. Then he's gone into it fully fledged this summer, and there is. Let's say it was Steve Waggett that was saying to him, "No, you're not pressing go on that or send on those contracts." He's had free reign to be doing that as soon as the transfer window closed. That should have been the priority. And the one for me is Ballett's Tort. He's come in. Yeah. He showed they've bought him. He bought him last year. He's part of the team that's identified it. He was director of football. He's brought him in. Eustace wasn't playing him. They were clearly always wanting him to be the number one. He played towards the end of the year. He's come into it this year. He's made himself hungry as number one. He's our number one by far. Why are you not renewed him already? He's out in injury. He's got a bit of a 6-week knock. To me, you turn around to him and go, listen, I know you've got a knock. You've done enough. You're going to be our number one. Here's a deal till 2029 with an option. Show him some faith, back him a little bit, and you can tie him up. If he comes back and he hits the ground running again, I mean, some ways, fortunately, it looks like Hungary won't go to the World Cup because you could see him being snaffled by a Premier League team. And as we head into next summer, he's down into the last 18 months of his contract. We're going into the same position again. He told us that wouldn't happen. Prove it.
100%. 100%. And hopefully we're going to start seeing some action over the next 4 to 8 weeks, which is what we're hoping to see. Before we finish the podcast, a couple of things. For a start, Al Capone, thank you, listener, for sending us the £5. It was appreciated in the comments. We don't ask for it, but thank you very much. And we did buy a pint. It was an expensive pint at Ellen Road when we went to the Football Content Awards. And a big thank you to everyone that voted for us. Just to be nominated was great. We knew deep down we weren't going to win. We was up against some pretty, tough people that do this as like a full-time job. It was quite funny. We sat there and we're talking to people that have millions of followers and they're telling us it's their full-time job, and we were just sat there. It was good to see Hugo and his mum Nikki. They were there and it was good to see them. Shame they didn't win either. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, Mark.
Oh, absolutely. With one of the main guys at Sun's Dream Team came over, Rovers fan. Yeah, it was surreal, wasn't it? I mean, there was a weird mix of people. There was Cal the Dragon at one end of the room, Martin Tyler at the other. There was people who, there were official club content teams that said, "Oh, we've only a small team. There's only 9 of us." I think Poshcast have been doing this for a number of years, and they won our category. which we weren't nominated for a new content creator or a new podcast. We were in the established category. So to get even nominated was unbelievable. But they got up, and I think there was 7 of them on stage or 9.
There's a few, yeah.
And they said, "Oh,
congratulations to them, well done, and everything, and everyone that finished."
Oh, yeah.
Even the ones that finished second, third, congratulations. But it did make us think, geez, it's just me and you doing this we record on a Monday night. We have little chats about things that we potentially want to do over message, and they're their full-time job, 7, 8 people at some of them. It was humbling, but also made us realise that, it's great that we've got the people that have supported us and put us where we are.
And that's absolutely the key to it. I think we were having a chat with Sunderland's official media team, and they were talking to us about engagements and the numbers they want to hit percentage-wise. And little old us were smashing what their dream was for engagement. So that's all thanks to you guys, getting in the comments. We don't do it because we look at the percentage of engagements. Yeah, people who have that as a career, that's what they do. We just like engaging in the comments and the chat and things too. But the fact that, there's 2 of us, there was, I think there's 13 at Poshcast or whatever it was. There was, big team. At the end of the day, we started this. I certainly did, because I looked at people like, not Mark Goldbridge, but people out there doing stuff for other teams and went, I'd love to listen to one about Rovers. We get 5 seconds on highlights show. You might get something on Radio Lancashire, but you have to listen to the other crap around us. You might get some on TalkSport when Venky's mess up something massively. But generally speaking, you don't hear anything about Blackburn Rovers. They don't exist on Sky Sports because they're not in the Premier League anymore. And it might be sad, but I like listening and thinking and talking to people about Blackburn Rovers. So the fact that me and you get the chance to do this every week is great. Sometimes it's a bit more depressing than others. But then we hear people who, my mate lives in Canada. We get messages from people in Australia, in America, in Portugal, and wherever, saying, do you know what? I miss doing that with my mates. Thank you. It makes me feel like I'm part of it. And, we didn't start it out because of that reason, but amazing. If we felt we were filling a gap that we just wanted, if other people feel the same, absolutely great. And in terms of the engagement that you give us, that's what makes it. Please keep doing that. I mean, I've said to you at Preston, lots of people were like, it's weird, but like, oh, it's Mark from the Blackburn End. Yeah, great. Have a chat with me. The one thing I didn't appreciate too much, Mike, was how much everyone was commenting how you made me look like I was a mini-me version of a human. But
I know someone said to me, it was like they put in a comment saying about the height difference of me and you, saying it's your posture or how you sat, and it's like, well, I've gone for the Bristol City camera angle for a start. Okay. This is literally just where I work. I just sit in my normal gaming chair and just work. I haven't thought about trying to make me look taller on camera or anything. I literally just sit here, turn the camera on, and we just start talking. But yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. I mean, we was with Box to Box Media, and I'd never heard of them, but they get hundreds of thousands of views. And it was really interesting. They were actually talking. They took my phone number as well, so hopefully we can actually talk to them. And the one reason why we didn't put on the graphics at the moment, because we've been putting graphics on, is because it lowers the quality of the video. And they were saying for us to engage more with people, put more out on TikTok and things like that. They were giving us some really good quality advice, which is quite funny when you're 43 years old and Mark's, you haven't quite hit the 40 yet, getting advice from like young 20-year-olds on how to grow your podcast. But we took it on board because at the end of the day, they know what they're talking about, and we was chatting, and they said that we need to get more engagements on TikTok. And what was interesting was people that still don't know that we're here and that we do talk Blackburn. The guy from the Dream Team podcast, he said, I saw that the Blackburn End podcast was up. I'd never heard of you. And it's like, we want people to hear. It's not like we're trying to grow to make money or anything. We just want people to know that they've got a place where they can listen to crap about Blackburn Rovers. And when I was a kid, I would have loved the opportunity to listen to this. Like I said, I had to wait for the telegraph to be sent to me to get my news. It was all smoke signals and pigeons back in my day. Whereas now we've got this platform. Hopefully people, they share us, and there's just, if you know a Blackburn fan, just ask them if they've heard of us and just try and point them our way. If they listen, they don't like it, that's fine. We're not looking to win awards, we're not looking to make money, but we are looking to grow, and that's for the community that we enjoy seeing in the comments. We love the comments, we love the community that's there. We see all the same names, but yeah, just get involved. Our social media, I think we will try and grow a little bit, not for anything other than just so people have more stuff to watch for our club.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better myself, mate. I think there are obviously, I don't mean people out there that don't know us, but there are people out there that probably don't know Rovers have a podcast. We try and get across the social medias, but it would be a full-time job, literally. We found that out when social media teams from football clubs have 15, 16 people behind them. We don't do that, and it's not even that it's just us two, and we could do it all the time. Unfortunately, we have to work as well, as much as we'd rather this was our job. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream, partly being a Rovers fan, but I think we just want people to know it's there and it's an option. And if actually there's people out there and they said, you know what, I'd love you to be doing this, talking about this. If we can do it, we will. Fit it around our jobs, then we'll do it. I know people have said about match reactions and previews and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll get one done this week, just because it works with the timings wise for the preview with the Wrexham lads. That he's a good lad. So we'll try and get it done. But yeah, anything out there anyone wants us to do, let us know. Within reason. I'm not starting an OnlyFans, but Mike can. But other than that, we'll crack on. I'm just really impressed, Mike, that you've managed to get someone's number when we were there. I mean, I did spot Natalie Pike and thought, she's mates with Big Sam. They have loads of Rovers people on the podcast. That'd be a nice number to have for no other reason than that'd be a nice number to have, obviously. But yeah, no, it was a good evening. And thank you, Al Capone, for the pint.
Yeah. Cheers to everyone that voted, made the effort for us. Thank you for the money, Al Capone. We do appreciate it. Just appreciate what everyone's commenting and doing all the good stuff. It is really appreciated.
Just finishing on that, mate. When like you've obviously said, we're not doing it to make money and things like that. We're absolutely not. I'll be honest. We did actually buy it. Well, we tried to buy a pint with that money. It was £7 a pint in Leeds. Don't know where they think they are. Mike's come from lower down in the country. We'll not say down south, but he's come from lower down in the country, and the north has let him down there. I was embarrassed, but I'm going to put the caveat that it was Yorkshire, and you can't trust Yorkshiremen. But what we do is basically we get bits of money from YouTube Reels or whatever it is, and it just goes back into the podcast. It means hopefully I won't have as many technical issues. It means my Wi-Fi is actually not just got the guinea pigs rolling around trying to get the Wi-Fi working. We managed to buy a microphone each last year, although mine looks like it needs a new wire. But it literally just goes back into that. StreamYard we use to do this. It means we can buy the plan that's a bit more expensive, which means you get to see us in full HD instead of blurry mess. You might prefer it as blurry. Let us know. But yeah.
I was going to say they're going to say less advertisements. And on the advertisements thing, before we do go, we know that people comment about how many advertisements are on the YouTube. We get it, but again, we haven't got time to edit it and move all the advertisements around. It's a YouTube thing. We just click a certain button and it's meant to be all automatic. We're really sorry. We would love to be sponsored and we don't have to monetize it or anything like that. But we haven't got time to edit it. This is why I'm not going to even edit the technical issues we've had today. You felt the pain. You're going to feel the pain that we felt all this recording. That is the point. We're in it together. We're all in a big pub together. if we have issues, we have it together. We're all here. So we do know about that. We see comments all the time, and I don't reply to everyone, but
No,
we understand. My advice is do what I did, buy YouTube Premium. You know, I'm a fancy bastard. I decided to buy YouTube Premium. It's mainly for the NASCAR stuff and my American sports, but it is worth it.
well, not all of us can be as flash as you, Mike. To be fair, what I do try and do if I get time in between work, having a daughter, Rovers playing 3 times a week messes that up as well. If somebody pops it in, because YouTube just randomly places them, same on Aircast when it goes onto the pod. So if people do spot it and they're too close together or something like that, let us know, and I try and just move the times on. You can do it afterwards, but you don't necessarily know that until it's already gone out and things, because otherwise we'd be delaying it further. And like Mike says, by the time we finish this and it goes out, it'll be 10 o'clock. I'm getting old. I need my beauty sleep more than ever. I've got to get up in the morning and do some work. I'd love to get up in the morning, make some clips of it, spend my day having a brew, working from home, having a nice relaxed morning.
Well, I said, but the interesting thing was a lot of the people there, they're on Patreon and so on, where you actually have to pay for the content, and they don't get the adverts because you're paying for it. And obviously, we don't do that. But yeah, if anyone is actually still listening to us, because you've probably switched off now and gone on to watch something else, yes, we understand and we apologise, and we apologise for the technical issues today. It happens.
My fault. I bought a cheap wire, and it got that hot, I think it might need to go in the bin. So we paused it. I ran upstairs. I got an official Apple wire. I've learnt my lesson. Sorry.
So I'm here with YouTube Premium. You're there with your flash official Apple cable. I'll tell you what, we've gone big time here.
Well, never more big time than when, and I'll tell you what, I am so relieved he started scoring. I went early with the good Johnson shout. I did. But yeah, I did go early. And people said, I've had a couple of people said to me about that. Oh, you got sponsored by the Terrace. I got a mug. Yeah. Mike got a mug. Wasn't a sponsor. We were actually just doing it. I'll go for a free mug if anyone wants to send me one. But actually, I was doing it because I was like, this is pretty cool. Our name's next to the Terrace. They're a big brand. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Exactly. And obviously, if anyone does want to sponsor us, brilliant. Well, that'd be awesome, but we're not looking for it. We're not going to go out there and ask for it. But if you want to run a competition in our name, we'll help you. If you want us to spread if you've got a business and you want us to do a shout out for you, if you want to shout out to anyone's birthdays or anything, let us know. We can do some shout outs.
Particularly if you're a Rovers fan. If you've got a business, this is a community. If you've got a business, you're a Rovers fan, who wants to help you out, let us know, and if we can give you a shout out, we will. If it's an OnlyFans account, I can't get on board with that. But yeah,
well, let's not be too hasty. It depends on the person. depends on the quality. But yeah, if you know how to do technical stuff, Mark will take
the
on
technical assistant. Yeah.
Right, we'll call it there then, Mark. I've had fun today. It's nice to talk good results. We've got a couple of games coming up. We're all looking forward to. Mark, I've enjoyed today.
Me too, bud. Looking forward to watching on Wednesday. It'll be interesting that I'm going to have to watch it from home. I might fall asleep. I might turn the channel over. Who knows? But I'll be there on Saturday. I'll be honest. I've only got a ticket in the hope Blake Lively's there. But if she's not, then Ryan Reynolds is obviously not going to put her in front of me. I can understand why he wouldn't want that to happen, but if he wants to run the risk of losing his missus to me, yeah, it can happen.
Right, I'm sure you could shoot your shot. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Mark, and obviously everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for keeping up with us. I know that we went a little bit off piece for the last 10-15 minutes, but that's what we do. And apologies for any technical issues. I know it was a little bit glitchy at times. Hopefully it comes out all right. But remember, please share the podcast. It doesn't have to be anything other than just telling people that we exist. It would be really good to start seeing some numbers increase, and obviously subscribe, like, do all the good stuff. But yeah, until next week, have a good one, and let's hope that we've got a few more points in the bag.